Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Philip Wilkerson back with a live episode of Positive Philter. We're joined by a special guest. We just wanted to launch the next season of Positive Philter off on a special note. So as you know, the special announcement is that this is the launch of season 4. I've been on a break of weed, but like I'm talking as myself. Been on a podcast hiatus for a little while. Life was a little bit busy, but I'm very excited to start this new season of Positive Philter with a few episodes already scheduled out, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So this is the first episode of season 4 launching today of Positive Philter, and I'm so excited for this episode. I'm going to be bringing on one of my main frog leagues, one of my partners in crime, a really great person. We got a lot to celebrate. Dorothy Hayden. So I'm going to bring her on right now. Hey, welcome. You're welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So obviously you'll throw it in the chat. We did an episode called Doing Big Things almost nearly 2 years ago in September. And quite a few things have changed since then. So give the listeners, I can't remember the timeline. When did we start being colleagues, right? And then where I guess from being colleagues to September, a lot has changed.
Yes. So we became colleagues, I think, back in November 2018. And then we started, was that 2018? Yes, that was 2018. 2020 was such a year, wasn't it? So then from there, we became official work colleagues back in March of 2019. And then we did the podcast in September 2019, which is incredible to think that we have come so far in the last 2 years.
Yes, that's it. And so I think some of the main things that we talked about was in regards to professional development and, how to get involved in different professional associations. So just doing a recap, what were some of the professional organizations that we discussed in that episode?
So we talked a little bit about the Virginia Association of Colleges and Employers. We also talked about the Eastern Association and the National Association of Colleges and Employers and ways to get engaged with those organizations. Right.
So we had to do an update. So what has happened? What has transpired since 2019? Obviously a global pandemic, but giving the listeners an update on what is going on. What has gone on with Dorothy Hayden since that time?
Well, see, I have been so fortunate and so blessed to be part of, I'm a part of the VACE board now. So I am just getting ready to end my 2 years as director of finance. I also was able to work on the technology committee, and now I'm on the professional development committee with Eastern ACE, and I'm working right now with a group of colleagues on a proposal for the NACE conference.
Now, big things, still doing big things. But I think you also have some major announcements in regards to individual. So what is some individual accomplishments that's happened for you so far in this, since this last episode?
I feel like so many really big things have happened. And I credit that a lot to having amazing colleagues like you, Phil. So most recently, I was named to the Northern Virginia 40 Under 40, which is just such a surprise. And what I think is that it really reflects not only the growth that I've had, but also the belief that my colleagues and frolics from around the state have had in me. So just couldn't be more thankful for that award, which will be later this month.
That's wonderful. That's super wonderful and all that stuff. So, I mean, I guess, you know, we really kind of prepared ourselves for questions and answers and things to think about. So, one of the things I still want to revisit, right, is that we are in a global pandemic, right? We're starting a new season. We're setting goals. And so I kind of want to tap into your suggestions. You know, obviously, you are very goal oriented. So, for the listeners out there or the people joining in or will be listening to this later, how do you personally set goals for yourself?
That's a great question. I like to set goals based on things that are going to motivate me. So I want, if I'm setting it as a goal, I want to go after it and work. I may not achieve it, but I'm going to do everything I can to get close to that goal.
So, okay. So with that being said, setting goals, we're going through, I guess, a professional development and setting goals ourselves. So what has been different in your goal setting approach for this year?
I think that it's really been different in that I am prioritizing my well-being and also what gives me energy versus what can I do. I'm not just doing things to say that I do them, because I realize I need to really want to be engaged. I need to feel that that fire, that energy that is energizing me forward. If I'm not feeling that with something, or I don't feel like that's part of my overall mission of what I want to achieve, then it's something that I'm not necessarily investing into.
So with that investment and prioritization, right? Obviously, what are for you, right now at this current moment, what are some things that are, you already said it, well-being, but what are some of the things that you are prioritizing for this 2021 year? Obviously, this is, a new year. So what are some things you're prioritizing for yourself? And additionally, with prioritization of your goals, how has just these recent accomplishments fueled that prioritization? Has it made it harder because more people are coming and approaching you for things? Has it made it easier, for those things?
Well, I would say first thing is that some additional goals and things that I've set for myself. I am working on a second master's degree right now, and that is focused on learning design and technology. So for me, I feel like that is driving me a lot into the future because it gives me a new perspective and a new lens on the work that I do in career services and developing trainings and being able to share that information as well with my colleagues. It gives me a lot of really positive feelings to be able to know that at the end of the day, I was able to help make someone else's job easier through technology, or even bigger than that, that I was able to help a student or a job seeker be able to meet with an employer to be able to get that job that they wanted.
I love it. So how, and then, I guess like that second part, like how has, I guess whether the pandemic or you accomplishing things, has it been easier so far to hold to yourself or prioritize those things, or has it been a little bit more difficult?
I think the pandemic has made everything a little bit more difficult. But I would say that that it has helped me get that calm that I needed to really evaluate what I had on my plate and see, what's something that what do I want to do next? What can I do with this time? Because that's the thing that's limited for everyone. We only have so much time. So what can we do to make sure that we're making that maximum impact? So that's where I'm at, is I'm like, how can I make the biggest impact in the time that I have?
Yes, and shout out to Frat, saying I look like I graduated from high school. The baby face and the good hairline. Don't be jealous. But I appreciate that. And please throw some questions in the chat if you are there. We'd love to answer some questions. We'll be here till the 1:30 mark. So please continue to throw some questions. Now, one of the things I went back, I very rarely go back and listen to my old episodes, but you were dropping mad gems in that episode. One I wanted to talk about is your acronym of KIM. Can you explain that for the listeners, what KIM means?
Oh, goodness. For Kim?
Yeah.
You want to, I know. You want to keep it moving.
Yes. It was like a quiz.
Did I forget Kim? Yes, I would never forget Kim.
So, bringing that back, what does Kim mean to you? Like, and is it like, how is that as a mantra? Because that was definitely something I wrote down. I was like, wow, like you dropped that. Like, how does that apply to you right now?
Oh, that applies in so many ways, because I think it's really easy with everything going on to be, to get bogged down. If you're taking that moment, I know one of the techniques that I've used is Mel Robbins has this technique. It's like you count down from 5 to like recenter. So I've been using that sometimes when I'm just like, this is kind of a waste of time. Why am I doing this? Why am I getting stressed out about this thing? Also, one thing I would add is that I really enjoy alphas. Go alpha fail. I just want to add that in.
Don't flatter us. Obviously, don't give Mike a big head. Here, he's listening.
Oh, it's Mike. Oh my gosh.
Yes, you remember, and Mike has since the 2-year mark.
Mike is the best.
Oh, stop. No, I wonder if he still stayed on. He probably dropped out to flatter himself. So another thing that, I definitely want to just keep on coming back to that last episode was one of the things that you said that was super impactful was that you keep track. You keep track of yourself. You keep track of how you're doing, your accomplishments. You dropped a gem about using color codes. So for the listeners out there, especially, how has your system of keeping track for yourself of your accomplishments, how has it grown or adapted? And maybe revisit that and some tips that you have for people that want to continue, as they say, really, market themselves and really keep track of how they're accomplishing things.
That's a great point. So with kind of keeping track of where things are, I'm not really as much keeping as close of a tie on, say, like all of the things, because I found that can be a lot. So instead, what I'm doing at the end of each week is I'm doing some journaling to see, what went really well, what can I improve on, and what do I want to accomplish in the next week. So the first thing that I look at on Monday morning is what I said on Friday night. So I don't look at it on Saturday and I don't look at it on Sunday. Unless I'm doing extra leadership volunteering work over that weekend. I'm going back to it though, at least on that Monday morning. And then I'm looking to see what can I do, because if it's not driving, if it's not, something that's, that seems as important, I'm going to try to look and figure out why.
So are you still color coding, or you remember? You said
no.
And I I'm serious, Dorothy. I wrote down notes. You was like, you send yourself that. Do you still send yourself that email that you send? Like at the end to recap. You still do that?
Oh yeah, I do that too. I still send that email to myself once a week, just with those things that, what are those things that went really well? What are those accomplishments? Because over time, you get to that point that's like, even 3 months later, you're not. I hope that you remember that it's International Women's Day, that we did this podcast.
I was about to drop that. I was about to say that, and then I forgot. And then I was like, oh, should I throw that in the middle? So shout out to all the women out there. Happy International Women's Day. Thank you, Dorothy, for keeping me on track with saying that. But yeah, I think that, sending that email to yourself, obviously.
But that's the thing. Like, do you remember what you were doing on January 15th? Probably not. But if you did a really great workshop and you're going back through and you're trying to build out, if you can't necessarily go after those awards, you can't go after those grants, you can't go after those things, if you can't identify what are those things that are making you stand out, how do you distinguish yourself? You've got to have a way to identify it. If you don't measure it, it's not going to just happen for you.
I love it. And I love that the fact that the system is still something you keep intact. It was a system. That's why I asked you, like, do you still do it? And that it seems like it's ingrained. Like, this is a system that you keep in place. Is there any other systems that you keep in place that has survived the pandemic? And what I mean by that is, like, for me, the system I kept in place, their habit, is I do my 5-minute journal, and that has, knock on wood, has survived through the pandemic. Is there anything that you do for yourself that has survived the pandemic?
I think that, there are new processes that have come up that I've developed because of the pandemic. One of those things, I actually took a cue from you, and I have a reminder set to follow up with at least one person a day that matters to me, that's in my circle, so that I can make sure that at least once every 2 weeks, those people are hearing from me and knowing that I care about them. I think that's a big thing that I've developed that's new.
I love it. Now, we were talking about leveling up, right? And one of the things I think about in regards to professional development is that, like I said, the more you do, the more people are approaching you, right? So I remember you both were saying that we were recovering yesers. Mm-hmm. And we were actually reading the Essentialism book. I want to get a quick update. Have you become a better recovering yeser, or has it gotten worse during the pandemic?
I think it's gotten a little bit better. And the main thing that I took from Essentialism is taking a look at what is it that you're getting from that activity. It may not be that you're necessarily getting anything, but do you enjoy it? If you enjoy it, that might be a reason to keep it. So I've eliminated things that just weren't serving me as I've gone through time. I've certainly added some things to my plate that I hadn't intended to because of the pandemic. Like, I have a few things that I don't know how I got myself volunteered into, but I'm really happy with what I have on my plate right now.
I love it. What are some of those unexpected things that came on your plate from the pandemic?
Well, yeah. I had to refund about 100 conference registration transactions and then continue to keep track of them, because that's the thing. Like, once they go out in the mail, then you have to make sure that they're kept track of. But also making sure, really what was most important to me in that process was making sure that everyone that I was reaching out to get those refunds out, we weren't sure back at last March if that was going to be like a 2-week thing. We were like, oh, we'll be back in April. Mm-hmm. We were having that conversation, I think, Phil. And then to realize, this may not be something that lasts, this may be something that lasts more than that month. Yeah. So I within a day, I'd started processing, and I was finished with all of my requests within that first week. But to be able to do that, it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to make sure that, that someone necessarily got their check right away. It was more, I wanted the people that were impacted, that weren't going to get that professional development opportunity, to go, oh, at least, like, this organization, they recognize and they really care. So that was something that was really important when we realized, we're going to have to cancel this conference. It meant so much that that I could be able to make sure that those members knew that they were taken care of, that they didn't have to worry about, making a formal request, doing a lot of work, that money was just, it was just sent back to them.
I love it. And one of the things I thought about too, is that before this pandemic, you were very involved. We were talking about different levels of committee work and professional organizations. And you were already saying that you were using video calls. And you were already doing that ahead of the time, a woman ahead of her time with Zoom. How do you foresee, has it been increased? Has it been more committee work? Has it been more distance professionalism for you? Not obviously the nation-wise, yes, but for you, has it increased during this pandemic?
I think that because Zoom isn't as novel, it's been harder for everyone, because now we're used to Zoom. We know what we've got to do, that sort of thing. So I think Zoom's kind of made it harder. So then, like, one of the things that I've tried to change up a little bit is making sure too that I'm, for the people that I'm leading, making sure to provide those affirmations of you're doing a really good job, and saying that in those meetings, but also in those emails afterwards, reminding people that as they're volunteering, that volunteer work that they're doing is making a difference, even though it can seem very much like we're all in our own houses right now doing a lot of this work.
Yes. So I think we got about 10 minutes. Usually for my shot for shot, it takes about 10 minutes. So let's do that. So you get to ask any random question. I get to ask any random question. You want to go first, or I go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, what's up?
So, what would you say is the biggest thing that you've taken from being in the pandemic? What's something that you've changed and you feel like has been a change for the positive?
Change for the positive. Well, I think continuously it's not there yet, but I'm working on it as a recovering yeser. I think this pandemic has made me say no more often, and I'm still working on it, but I think I've gotten a lot better since this last episode of 2019 of saying no to things, because I realized that after work, it has been very normalized to say, yo, let's jump on this Zoom call for all this extra committee work. And I realized that I don't have the bandwidth as much. So, I would telling the listeners very transparently, when we thought this pandemic was no big deal, going into the summer, I was still saying yes to a lot of things because I was like, oh, we'll get back to normal and I could juggle all these things. But then I realized that fall that we were still in it, that I was I overcommitted myself quite a lot because I thought the pandemic was going to be over last fall. And so going into this spring, knowing that we still got a little bit of left to go, I'm going to have to say no to a lot more things this spring leading into the summer for the fall, because I thought I could juggle a lot more than I could, but I wasn't able to. So I think one of the positives of this is really just realizing like how much we only have 24 hours in our day, and I can't do but too much. I love to. It feels good. It feels good to be wanted. It feels good to be, quote unquote, recruited or asked to participate in things. But I don't want to dilute my brand. I don't want to dilute my effort. Like just because I say yes to everything, then my quality will go down. And then it won't be a positive outcome. So I'd rather focus on things I'm good at and be more, quote unquote, essential. So that's what the pandemic has taught me. I ain't learned it completely yet, but I'm going to work on it. So that's it.
That's what counts.
I think one of the things I want to ask for you, that's totally random, is that I realized that for you, you have grown tremendously in confidence and really become confident. I mean, you're already well accomplished in doing things. What you think has contributed to your confidence, and what does confidence mean to you?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So I think confidence is feeling comfortable, but not feeling stagnant. So I'd say that for me, having an amazing set of coworkers, having an amazing supervisor who believes in me, having a friend group that is caring, having the family that I have where I have an amazing set of siblings who, they're checking in on me. They're all of that together has really changed my confidence. I would say it just in a different way. Like I feel so much more confident and comfortable in the work that I'm doing now than I really ever have. So I really credit that to people like you, Phil, who really encouraged me.
Love it. So we got about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure we got some other things to do today. So I wanted to leave a lot. We didn't have any questions today, which is cool. Definitely excited to launch the podcast, and I definitely am very happy to do this with you. So we got about 5 minutes. I want to leave off and give you plenty of opportunity to do some shout outs and some plugs. I guess while you're doing your plugs, if I can, I'll try to throw some of those in the chat to keep up with you. But shout outs and plugs.
Okay. So in my last one, I know I shouted out two people that I still want to shout out. So one of those people is Sam Ratcliffe, who's been a mentor, previous supervisor of mine. I want to shout out Peggy Reed, who is a past president of VASE, who has been that key foundational person that I know I can check in with, who has the cutest dogs. I want to give a big shout out to Tibise Hernandez, who's actually chairing the committee that I'm a part of with Tracy Hinton from Purdue University. They are two amazing women, and I wanted to make sure that I highlighted them, especially on International Women's Day. I want to give a shout out to my best partner ever. I would definitely call her that, Miss Ann Garner, who, she is a key source of positivity and encouragement to me. Want to shout out, the Alpha Phi Alphas out there, the AKAs as well, because I know that I'll have a few of those people who will be watching me, because I'm lucky to have some former roommates who were AKAs, so representing. And that's how, early on, Phil and I were able to bond, was talking about the first fam. You know what I mean, Phil?
I do. Yes, I do. Yes, and definitely remember that. So what about some plugs? What are some things you're working on and ways that the listeners can connect with you?
Okay, so some ways you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. Love to connect there. I'm sharing information as I go through my ed tech courses, and I'm going to be presenting at VASE this year. So the VASE conference will be happening later in April. We'll be having that. And then, definitely connect with me too on Twitter. So I'm at Dorothy Hayden there on Twitter. I'd love to connect and continue the conversation. I also am a frequent listener of Positive Philter. So if you are on the show in the future, you'll probably see me asking questions during the set.
Yes. Well, this has been a great show. Obviously, we are really good on time. I'm definitely going to, before I get off, I'm going to share your Twitter in the chat and also in the show notes of this podcast. I am so proud of you, immensely proud of you, and really honored that you're doing big things, and we've come a long way. And there was no one else I would rather, and I look like I'm distracted, but there's no one else I'd rather.
It's like every other day.
Yeah, there's no one. Yeah, it's like normal Zoom. I think that's my normal Zoom face. But there's no one else I'd rather celebrate the launch of this new podcast. But then you, obviously, you've been a big advocate for me, really helped me with my professional development. I know we just kind of freestyled a little bit about this conversation here as a, doing big things, just kind of an update show. But I'm just really immensely proud of you and all the things you're doing. But I'm also very grateful because you elevated me. Not only do you uplift yourself, you uplift others, and we rise together. I don't know if that could be on a T-shirt or something. Who knows?
We rise together. I love it. It could be part of your merch.
Yeah, I need some merch. Like Positive Philter, we rise together. But thank you so much. Just really been a great journey that we've done in 2 years, and many more to go. Obviously, hopefully, and I'm just really excited to see how you grow and continue to do big things, as we say, and lead the way. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Thank you for those that's listening. This will be also live later, so this will not go anywhere. You can check it out on Facebook or YouTube, and also I'll be taking the audio and sharing it via the normal podcast channels. So for those that missed it, don't worry, you'll still get a chance to listen to this episode. And as I said, we'll be ripping and running. The podcast is back in normal full swing right now with episodes every Monday and Friday, full episodes. I do have Positive Philter short takes. I haven't been doing that as much. You might see me randomly throw some episodes there as well once I get some more time. But this has been great. I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much, Dorothy.
Thank you, Phil.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity a Movement. Thanks for listening.